Welcome to the Your Brilliant Difference podcast. This is Finka Jerkovic. I am so excited and delighted that you have made time to be with me here today. This is our kickoff episode. If you've been following along, we have been transitioning from our previous podcast, Transformational Selling, and really coming back to our roots, my roots. When I think about all the work that I do with clients in my work with organizations and with business owners, everything always comes back to your brilliant difference. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is our kickoff episode. What I want to share with you today is what we're going to be talking about here on the Your Brilliant Difference podcast. We'll be talking about what you can expect as you tune in week after week. And we'll be publishing and producing episodes, extremely quality ones for you that you're going to get so much goodness out of every Thursday. So be sure to follow, subscribe, and tune in every week. But we'll talk more about that in a second. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what a brilliant difference is so you can get more clarity on what it is, why you need one, and how it can help you, and how this podcast is going to help you get clearer on that. I'm also going to talk about what inspired this podcast and why I think this is important and pivotal to your work as a leader, as a business owner, as you continue to show up in the world, and why the world needs your brilliant difference. And finally, I'm going to share with you my brilliant difference story and my journey, and how that has shifted, one, in the way I show up in my work and my business. But there's this saying, I believe it's a book cover, where it says, wherever you go. Yes, I think John Kabat-Zinn wrote this book. I probably didn't say his name correctly, but wherever you go, there you are. And so this is not only about your work and not only about your leadership. There is a ripple effect that transforms how you show up in your relationships, how you show up at home, how you show up as a parent, all those wonderful things that are the side effects of showing up in your brilliant difference in your work and in your leadership. So let's start with what you can expect. So this podcast, as you can see, we are going to be on video. So what we do here on really helping our brilliant differences stay shiny and sharp is we do these things called edge moves. And this is an edge move for me. And so I'm really excited about practicing this skill, about sharing your brilliant difference, insights, stories, reports, things that are happening in the workplace today that even more urgently is inviting us to show up at our best, show up in ways that maybe you didn't even think were possible for you. Every day you're getting new invitations or opportunities to show up at a different level. And what often happens is we can pull away. There are these old habits, old ways in which we show up, these comfort zone moments. And they actually stall our growth. They plateau our impact. And this is why you need a brilliant difference. It is something that continues to be a work in progress. It is something that will be your guiding light and your North Star. And I'll talk more about that. I'm already going ahead of myself, but I'm so excited about it that I really want to dive deep into it. But this podcast is going to be a place where you're going to learn how you can be your best and bring your best. Oftentimes in our work, you will experience challenges. You're going to experience stress. You're going to be working with people that aren't just, helping you show up at your best. They're challenging you. They're making you struggle, and maybe they're creating some tension that you'd rather not deal with. Well, what if that tension and that stress and those challenges are actually here to help you shine even more brightly? And that's what I want this podcast to be for you. I want it to be a place where you find inspiration, but I want it a place to be where you also get practical insights, tips, tools, advice to help you overcome those challenges or help you achieve those goals in your business, in your sales, in your leadership, in your influence, and in your communication. So what is a brilliant difference? So your brilliant difference is comprised of two parts. Part one is your brilliance. This is your innate, intrinsic gift, talent, and skills. This is something that no one else has. It is uniquely comprised of your particular brilliance. And so we need to uncover that. The second part is your difference. And so this is the reason why behind your brilliance. So this whole sense of, bringing our brilliant self oftentimes can get shadowed by our, I don't want to be too shiny. It seems very egoic. It's not about me. And it isn't. Your brilliant difference is these two parts. Number one, we need you to figure out what you're good at. We need you to figure out what you need to continue building on. We also need you to figure out what you're not so good at so you can call other brilliant differences to help you along the way. But it's not about you. It's also about the impact you're here to make. It's about this way in which you add value to your clients. You add value as a leader to your organization and to your peers. And so when we pair your brilliant difference, it becomes this guiding light that is an invitation for you to rise up and really presence yourself in a way that helps you make it clear for other people on how you can help them, the problems you help them solve, the goals you can help them achieve, but also the result and the impact and value that you bring. Now, for you to be that, steer that ship, that way forward, you've got to get really clear on what it is. And when we don't know what it is, we can get lost. And so this is where I know for me, for most of my corporate career, I spent 20 plus years in the financial services world. And it was a beautiful place to work. I had many experiences. I worked in service, I worked in operations, I worked in sales, I worked in strategy. I had opportunities to work in HR and learning and development. And so one of the beautiful things about working in a big organizations, there's various departments. And so you can really fine tune many, many skills and competencies and capabilities by just moving around the organization. And I did that for 20 plus years. But there was also this place of me showing up in the way I thought I needed to be versus who I was. I really tried to be authentic. And we all are authentic to some degree. But I will also say there's parts of ourselves where we question, or we're hesitant, or we're scared of really showing our true colors. But there's also this part of us where, I really want to also be very careful around how we think of authenticity. It's also about bringing our most best brilliant selves, because I could be very authentic and transparent and candid, but it may not, one, be perceived in that way. Two, it might hurt other people. And so there's a real cognizant way in which we approach your brilliant difference, which we'll continue to have these conversations in the podcast. But specifically today, what I wanted to highlight, for me, what was happening was I was a sales leader. And what I realized, I wasn't showing up in my best self because I wasn't selling and leading my team in a way that was authentically integral to who I was. And so I was showing up in a way where the organization needed me, or they thought I would best deliver results. And so I compromised my values. And it wasn't until I, had sort of this dark night of the soul moment where things didn't go so well. I actually ended up in the ER one night, and I walked out of there saying, I can't do this way anymore. And that was my rock bottom. That was my invitation to say, you're not going to no longer compromise who you are, how you show up, because it's going to cost me my life. And so that put me on this journey of really figuring out what my brilliant difference was and how I could show up in a way that was not only aligned to who I was, but mutually beneficial to the organization I was working with. And so that brought me to the next place of, when we have a brilliant difference, not everybody's going to get it. Not everyone's going to understand it. Not everyone's going to value it. And I had this moment where I was at a leadership team meeting, and I remember, raising my hand. We were brainstorming different sales strategies as a management team. We were talking about different ways to drum up business, different ways to attract clients, different ways to, improve client loyalty. And it was, I had this really great idea. I was doing it already with my team, and it was proving to be valuable, and we were getting results. And I'm like, this is great. Let me share this idea. So I raised my hand and I share the idea. And I remember the leader saying, no, I don't think so. Like, it was just a no. And I'm like, put my hand down. I'm like, well, I don't know, this seems to be working for my team. Why wouldn't it work? So I was very persistent. So I raised my hand again and I'm like, but it's been working and this is what I've been doing and it's been working really well. And again, he shut me down and I'm like, oh gosh. And so I'm like, I'm a little bit frustrated now. I'm like, but I couldn't understand. Why couldn't he hear me? And I raised my hand for one more time and I shared the idea again. And he put his hand on his waist and he pointed his finger at me and he said, enough, we are not doing that. And I felt this big. And I was just like, I was mortified. I was amongst my peers. Now, I felt embarrassed. I felt really, really small. I literally walked out of there with my tail between my legs. I didn't want to go back. However, these are all learning moments. And at the end of it, what I realized and what I learned, and again, we're going to talk more about this throughout the podcast in the various episodes, so you're going to be hearing from me, is people don't always understand your brilliant difference and the ideas that you have to share or the insights or the proposed solutions or ways forward that you are recommending. And often, and I know for me, what I was chalking it up to be and what I did for most of my career, when I would get that feedback with a no, eventually I started to make that no something about myself. That no, that wasn't a good idea. And maybe something was wrong with me because I was the one generating these ideas. And I started to, shy away from showing up and really adding value in the way that I knew I was able to. What was happening actually was my lack of and my ability to communicate those ideas to other people that didn't see the world in the same way I did. Now, what I learned through all this process is my brain goes from A to Z very, very quickly. And I can probably add on a few letters after that. My background's Croatian, so we do have a couple extra letters than the traditional A to Z in the English language. So I go from A to Z very, very quickly. However, when I communicate and convey that A to Z, I didn't realize not everyone thinks like that. Not everyone sees the world in that way. And what we need to do with our brilliant differences is it's not just about us and being able to shine brightly and really communicate and convey how we can add value. We really need to translate that into a language that other people will understand so you can be heard. And so this is where we take responsibility for our communication, where we are accountable for how we share ideas, how we bring our brilliant difference to the workplace. So it's not just showing up authentically. It's not just showing about bringing your brilliant difference, but it is doing the heavy work and the lifting that we have to do to help people understand how we can help them. And that was the lesson that I learned from there. And that was this really poignant of when I think about your brilliant difference and the philosophy of everything that I teach on, the first is authentic integrity. And that was that first one that I talked about, of really showing up in who you are. The second is on empathetic communication. And so that's really us stepping into understanding how the other people see the world and how best can you convey and communicate your idea, your problems, solutions to the problems, your insights, any ways forward that you're recommending. If you're looking for your team to get buy-in, great. You have this beautiful initiative and this idea that's going to transform client experiences or a technology that's going to make things more efficient. And you see that, but they might need it translated in a different way for them to buy in and see that. So that was the second lesson that I had. Now, the third and final one really talks about the third pillar, which is purposeful impact. And this is where it really comes together around your brilliant difference. Your brilliant difference, I believe, is this guiding light that really is an invitation for you to rise up, to deliver the value that you're here to deliver, to bring your unique gifts and strengths, and to have this impact. It is also your North Star around your purpose. And you get to show up at work, whether it's in the corporate workplace or in the business that you're working for or the business that you are running. Our work is this powerful place where we get to actualize on our purpose. I believe that you're here to make a meaningful difference. You're here for a particular reason. We just happen to, whether you're selling financial services or coaching and consulting services, or you're selling a digital solution, whatever it is that you are selling, leading, mentoring, sponsoring, supporting, all those, that's where you get to actualize on it. And I remember that one year that I had this big epiphany. So it started with I'm not leading my sales team in the way that I was wanting to lead them. And then secondly, the not being heard, and my manager putting his hand on his hip and pointing his finger at me and saying, no, not now, and being mortified for that. And the third in that same year that really helped, be the impetus impetus for this brilliant difference work was when I really sat back and I started thinking about what is it that I love to do? Where can I add the most value? What are the problems in the world that are happening today that I most want to solve? And that's the invitation, really to strategically think about how you could direct your brilliant difference to the areas that light you up, that you want to grow and develop in. So it could be a skill set, something you're passionate about, but also that opportunity. What are problems that are happening out in the world today that you really want to solve for? And for me, I really started to lean in on the fact that I loved the development aspect of my leadership. And when I was a sales leader, I loved the selling, I loved the client engagement. However, the place that really energized me was seeing my people go from, not having certain skill set, struggling, to figuring out within themselves, finding the courage to do those edge moves, tapping into their skill sets, unlocking their potential, and really seeing that come to fruition. And being that coach, that mentor, and that facilitator as I walked alongside them as they played their game. And that was that third piece of really deciding that this is where I wanted to focus in on my career and my work. And so that's the invitation here for you when you think about your brilliant difference. It is about who you are. This is about how you show up most authentically, integrally to who you are, your values, and your brilliant self. It is about the value you're here to add and deliver to others. Now that value, they're not going to immediately understand and get. So it's up to us to take the responsibility, do the hard and heavy lifting of communicating and conveying how your brilliant difference can help them get more of what they want. And then finally, really zoning in. I think of that ikigai, that those circles. I believe it's a Japanese term where really finding the work that you love. There's that element of finding something that you're passionate about, something that guides your purpose, something that you have a skill set that is aligned to and or you want to develop. And the final is that it is something that people want. There are problems out there that they're having that this last piece of your brilliant difference can solve for. And so that's the invitation I am putting out there to you, that throughout this podcast and throughout this work, that my intention and vision is to help you really embrace who you are, really start doing the digging that you're going to have to do to uncover your brilliance, and the edge moves and that out of comfort zone that you're going to have to do to make it visible so other people can see you. I really love this quote by Anne Lamott where she says, lighthouses don't go around looking for boats to save. They just stand there and shine. And that's what I believe about your brilliant difference, that it is this place that as soon as you start feeling good in your own skin, and there is a comfort in being who you already are, those are the beautiful things that are the good and the bad, the beautiful and the broken. We got to accept it all. When you take all of those in, and you can really just stand there and shine in that brilliance, that you are going to naturally attract the right opportunities, the right clients, the right solutions to move forward in the way you want to be moving forward. And that's my promise and my commitment to help you, show you the way forward, give you ideas, inspiration, so you can show up more confidently in your leadership, that you can be a more inspiring communicator, and that you can create those transformational results and impact that you're looking to make. So again, stay tuned as we continue this journey, and after episode, you're going to hear stories, you're going to hear the latest research, you're going to hear insights on ways in which you can show, demonstrate, and really bring your brilliant difference to your work, to your leadership, and to your impact. We will see you next time. Bye for now.